In this video, we're going to be looking at the September 2024 garden tour, an ADD garden, and a little bit distracted here and there, and the progresses and the failures. We've had a little bit of both, and we've had some turnabouts and some goods and bads and a few other things that we're going to look at as of September 2024, and kind of a record of an incremental record of where the garden is this month. This is actually mostly for myself, but you are so welcome to follow along and join me as we look at what's happening in the garden. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. Welcome to the Bowtie Gardens. I'm Bowtie David here in Destin, Florida. As you can see, we live in the heart of town and we have a little space to grow a garden. So I'm trying to convert as much of it as I can to gardens, and now maybe back from gardens, and see if we can move things around now that we've been here 3 years. Can you believe next month will be 3 years? But I was watching Gardening with Creekside this morning, their new video, and incidentally, when I mention other channels, they are channels that I really respect and enjoy and encourage you to watch as well. Gardening with Creekside, they are not a vegetable gardener as much. They are a nursery for annuals and perennials, but I learned so much from them. And I was listening this morning, and Jenny says, don't listen to what anybody says. Everybody has weeds, and some people will tell you they don't have weeds, and everybody has weeds. And I thought to myself, you know what? A weed is a state of mind. It's not a specific species. It's not a specific type of plant. A weed is just a plant not in the place you want it to be. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to contest that, and I'm going to say I have no weeds. Yeah, I'm just going to stick with that, and we'll go forward because I like growing everything I have here. I love the wildness. Mrs. Bowtie doesn't always, but I like the wildness of the yard. I try to keep it in control and check, and we're both very busy people. Both me and Mrs. Bowtie work real jobs, and we don't always have time to get out here and pull a lot of weeds. I do fill garbage cans full of weeds and put them out by the road. Things that I don't want to grow as prolifically, where I'd put them in my compost, but it doesn't happen. I could do a whole lot more if I really had more time for it. So, no weeds. I'm going to deny the existence of weeds in my garden. You can laugh at me the rest of this video. I know, I'm being silly. So, anyway, the weather. Next thing I like to talk about in these beginning parts is the weather and how it's been. And last week was glorious. 2 weeks ago we top out right in the low 90s here in Destin. It gets just across the bay, it gets to mid 90s, but it's been very stable temperatures every single day and very consistent, and it's been wonderful to say the least, compared to some other places we've been. The challenge is that the lows don't go very low. Our highs and lows are only a few degrees apart, so it's always hot during the summer. However, this is the kind of cool thing, and I talk about this a lot. Let me see if I can pop up a picture of the Choctawhatchee Bay right here, and you can see how we're surrounded by the Choctawhatchee Bay. Well, one of the things I monitor is the sea temperature here in Destin. And all summer, it's been 87 degrees. Got up to 87 degrees, and it sat there for months. Well, the week that it dropped to 86 degrees, 1 degree difference in the water, suddenly we're not hitting 90s anymore. It's beautiful out here. Now, we do have a front that's come across the country. It actually was a cold front that stalled out right over us, which is not unusual. Makes for a lot of instability, makes for a lot of clouds, makes for rainy days, which we've had. They've been wonderful, but it does make a challenge. Does make a change in the weather, a very drastic change, because suddenly now I'm able to work a lot more outdoors. It's beautiful. We're hitting mid 80s as our high, and I'll try to remember to put the Celsius in here. Mid 80s is our highs. We actually saw this morning 73 degrees for the low. That's the lowest I've seen since April, I want to say. April. I went back and looked. It was like April that we saw 72 one day. But yeah, 73 is the lowest we've had since April. And here it is September. So the water temperature is about to break. Our temperatures are starting to go down. I'm very excited. The change is, you will see in the garden though, there are changes, and it's kind of neat to see what happens. Now, most of the big changes we're going to see are in the back, in the raised beds. This is the first of 3 parts of this garden tour. You have the front and side, then we have the outer beds in the back, and then we have the raised beds in the back. That's part 2 and 3. But you'll see more of that back there. However, it's very exciting to see what's going to happen here in the next month. Some things that we have that are coming up that come up this time of year that always come up later and give us color in the fall. And so that's the kind of stuff I'm excited about now. But yeah, so the weather has changed here in, what is this, September 7th. This is the first Saturday in the month, which is when I like to do this front and side garden tour. And we're going to take a look at the property. Now, the property here, folks, you don't have to have acreage to have a garden. We have harvested over 300 pounds of food. When those loofah come in, it's going to be over 400 pounds. That's a whole nother story. But we have harvested 300 pounds of food, well over 300 pounds of food, and it's wonderful. We've gotten it off of this one little quarter acre. In fact, here's a little map. You can see it's 100 foot wide, 106 foot deep. And this is our property that we grow on. I'm trying to put as many garden beds in here as I can. And one of the things that we're doing is we're kind of going back and forth. We've made some garden beds. Here we are coming up into the end of our 3rd year. And we have removed a garden bed now. And how easy was it? How hard was it? That's kind of an interesting thing. So we'll have to see what happens here. As with all our garden tours these days, we have this map here that we put down in the corner of the screen. It serves as a kind of a guide to show you where we are. We have this icon here with the circle. The circle represents the camera. The arrow represents the direction the camera is pointed. And we're going to put that down on the little map in the corner, and you'll be able to kind of see where in the property we are as we're going around here. And yeah, with that being said, let's go look at a disaster. What do you say? So be sure to subscribe so you can follow along and see the incremental changes in the garden. I do cover everything. I try to cover every single thing. And this here, well, up there is that same zombie wood chip pile that we have been living with for years. And Mrs. Bowtie has warned me to get it out of here. So sometime in the next 3 months, that's going to be gone. Yeah, we're tired of it. It needs to be gone. I can tell you right now, it is going to end up in this bed right here. All that soil under there. And we're going to solarize it. And I'm very excited about that. So we'll have a video. And if you subscribe, you'll be able to be kept up with that video when it comes up. But we're going to solarize and rebuild this bed. Now, this bed used to be called the Strawberry Patch. We've called it the Strawberry Patch for years. And I'm looking down in here to see if I can see any strawberry plants remaining. Oh, is that a strawberry leaf? Looky there. Is that a strawberry leaf? Nope, it is not. I don't believe we have any remaining. I did pull a lot of the strawberries out of here already, and we are planting them in various different places. We do have another surprise coming up here. Either next month or the month. It'll probably be in November. But yeah, we have a lot of weeds in here. Now this marks, there was a strawberry plant right down here somewhere. There's a pomegranate. Look at this pomegranate. It's been eaten by birds and critters of all kinds. Yeah, I don't see any strawberry plants whatsoever, which doesn't surprise me. I did dig a lot of them out of here, and I kind of expected that they would be kind of lingering in here, but when we solarize the bed, anything that's left will be gone. But we have massive weeds like this growing everywhere. So what we're going to be doing with this next year, we're going to be trying to grow okra in this bed. Tall okra, Texas Hill Country red okra. This is the okra we've been growing in the back, and you can watch the raised garden bed tours for the past couple of years, and you can see that Hill Country red okra. Tallest ones we had were 17 feet, 17 and a half feet. I was just telling a friend the other day about them. I sent him some seeds. Hope he gets that big of okra, because he's going into a competition, okra growing competition next year, and trying to give him a leg up. Got to bring that championship back to the Gulf Coast. Yep, that's the zombie wood chip pile. But this is one of the last looks at this area. That fabric in there was my last failing attempt to get the strawberries to grow good in here. It did not work. This place is simply too sunny. It gets sun all day. This pomegranate tree provided a little bit of shade, and we'd have more strawberries under that shaded area where the afternoon shade was. But yeah, this has been ultimately a complete failure, though it did give us strawberries for a few years. This is our third year. It didn't give us very many this year, but that was mainly because I didn't harvest them. The pomegranates are beautiful. I've actually given away a bunch of these. These are amazing. We are not harvesting them this year because we still haven't used all of the last pomegranates. So there are pomegranate seeds about to go into the ground, where that one is right there. That's the one I just showed you. And yeah, so this has been a complete failure. It was too much sun for these poor little strawberry plants. There was a, oh yeah, here's a grow bag that used to have mint. The mint died. That shocked me. The mint died. How did that happen? The mint died. It's been getting watered every other day. The mint died. Okay. A lot of sun. A lot of direct sun in here. A lot of solarizing. There was something in there. The only thing that survived, and this is a good lesson, this bed is full sun from sun up to almost sundown, about 3 or 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon maybe. But right here we have our rosemary plant. And a few months ago we chopped it off there, and look at all these things. This thing is starting to bush out better than it's ever done before, I'm very excited to say. And you can go back and look at that video to see how I pruned this to make it get bushier. This thing is going to be here a long time. Now think about it, rosemary, it's a Mediterranean type plant. It's going to grow in harsh conditions anyway. Oh, this smells so good. But it's going to grow in harsh conditions. It's very tough, very sturdy plant, and it's hard to kill these things. So this thing will be here for a long time. We'll be planting okra probably in 3 rows down 3 or 4 rows down there. There'll be 14-foot rows of okra. Not sure what I'm going to do with the back here. I know we are doing a big change here for, I got to be able to store my trailer. I would like to put it behind cover. But yeah, that is this southeast corner of the property. Let's go on over to the front door area. So now here, this is the front door right here. We're just standing right next to the garage door, and we have 2 big urns of mums, chrysanthemums, and these things flower the beautiful yellow that kind of goes with the house. We are making a change here, and this is where I was talking about in November. We have a surprise. We're going to be doing something completely different in here, trying something else, and that's what we do. We try things. We try to get things to work. One thing I do want to point out, I occasionally point out that there used to be a Sego palm here. Let me see if I can put a picture in here of this house with this Sego palm. And that's the first thing I did the week after we moved in on, I think, a Saturday. The next Friday, I chopped down this Sego palm as close as I could to the ground. That was almost 3 years ago, and this thing has still been putting up shoots. And I very dutifully have been coming out here and cutting off the shoots like this, and waiting for more to come up and cut off, and I'm hoping that eventually it'll stop doing this, but it hasn't stopped yet. However, I've recently discovered, about 2 months ago, that there's these big, huge growth nodes. And what it does, this is actually what would be connected to the stump that's down underneath there, and it'll grow this growth node, and it grows a shoot. Now what I've been doing is cutting off the shoots here. Problem is, this is like a seed, people. This will keep growing and growing and growing and trying to come back. And so I'm starting to go back and take off these growth nodes. Hopefully that now I can get rid of these little things growing up here. I do not like the Sego Palm, mainly because it's poisonous, and it's just right down in this area right here underneath the tripod. But in fact, I might be able to find, yeah, there's another growth node that I pulled out. There's the stump right there. That's the actual stump. And I'm hoping, and it's kind of rotten. I can feel that it's kind of rotten down there. Anyway, Sego Palm. Please don't plant them. They're not very nice, and they poke you and they hurt you. There are better palms to have out there. I am proud to say the hedges are trimmed. That doesn't always happen. And there's a lot of tall grass out in here. I have not been cutting grass the way I should be. Mrs. Bowtie would like me to cut it more. Does anybody else just have a busy life? We do. We both do. But this is the fig tree. This is the fig tree from my friend. Now, interestingly enough, there's a lot more little late season figs coming out here. I'm told that these will actually develop, and if we had a longer season, we could possibly get a second crop of figs. I don't believe we're going to. I've never seen these second crop fully develop here in Destin. It stops getting, stop being as sunny. It starts getting this rust on here. In fact, there's some rust right there. It's fig rust. All fig trees will do that. That's what starts the leaf drop. It is a deciduous tree, which means it drops its leaves in the winter. And so this thing will drop all of its leaves, be sticks, we'll trim it, we'll do it again. I do have down here that I've been trying to keep rescued whenever I can. This is a thyme plant, and it's actually doing pretty good down here. I've got a little bit of a crater of other plants that I try to keep pulled out and kind of give it a little bit more room. And whoops, see, that's a leaf flower right there. I think I've learned something about leaf flower, but I can't be definitive yet. I'm still learning. So, okay, there it is. Leaf flower. But yes, this time it's coming to the end of the season, so it's going to start looking not quite as good. Yeah. Still smells good. Okay, so we come around here to the bed we used to call the artichoke bed. And folks, it ain't there no more. I mowed them over. I took out the little border, and this is hopefully going to be going back to yard. And it's one area that I need to focus on, because the more I mow it, it'll take less of these leafy things and bring back more of the grasses that I want in here. And the grasses are kind of growing into this thing and starting to repopulate it, so it will be yard again. And there's just one little thyme plant and one little yarrow right there that will be surviving in this area. Next to this, of course, we have our Jerusalem artichokes. And I'm looking over here at this area, trying to figure out, okay, so that is growing in the pots. There are 3 pots underneath here. You can see there's one right there, one there, one there. Jerusalem artichokes are highly invasive, people. The first year I planted these things in the ground, and they spread like crazy. Jerusalem artichoke is a perfect substitute for potatoes for diabetics. The root stock tastes and prepares just like potatoes and doesn't drive up the blood sugars. It's wonderful. But yeah, there's a bunch of them in there. They're not as big as last year, so I'm not really sure why. Those 2 pots are exactly the same. We did something different here, and I actually used a sand mulch on top, and I think that my sand mulch was just too much. They finally started coming up. That's what these are. This is the Jerusalem artichoke. There's a lot of weeds in there. Okay, no, I'm not going to do that. There's no weeds in there. Jerusalem artichoke, wonderful tuber. So after the Jerusalem artichoke, I like to squeeze in just a tree update, because I want to know what my trees are doing each time. And here you can see the American sycamore in front of our house. It is a massive, massive tree. The leaves are starting to get their spots on them. They're starting to turn color. They're starting to fall. Now, this thing does drop leaves all year long, but they are starting to drop a little bit more leaves, and you can see it's all sycamore leaves back up in there, and makes for really good compost stock. The Crepe Myrtle here, in fact, let me see if I can zoom in. Can you see that one little pink flower that's left right there? There's very little pink left on this thing. I can't believe, I mean, it's done very good all year. It's kept some pink on it, and we're down to the very final. It does have all these berries. These berries are what's called persistent, which means they stay stuck to the tree. They don't make a mess in the yard, which is very nice of this tree. And the birds get to feed off of this. They'll come in and they'll be picking these berries. In fact, you can see there's some berries missing right there. There's been a bird in here eating those, which is what we want them to do. We want this to be bird food. We want birds and squirrels to feel like they can come in here and eat as much as they need to. We'll have to come in here and chop off some of these branches before the city does. They come through and cut off the stuff overhanging the road so it doesn't conflict with the trucks that drive through here. The doomed pear tree, I think this thing may be done. I haven't plucked off a green thing from it in months now, so I think this thing might be done. I still can't move it. I want this thing, my ideal is that this thing would rot off at the ground and I can just push it over one day and throw it away. That's my hope. So I would like those roots to turn into good organic matter. Our cedar tree of whatever ilk. We have our date palm. This is a Pindo date palm. The dates up there are edible. Yes, there are dates up there. And they are very pithy. They have a lot of fiber or pectin in them. Once they turn yellow and get ripe, if you eat them, you eat a couple, and you'll feel like you're chewing on a mouthful of dental floss after a while. Here you can see some of them are starting to turn yellow, but the way you do process these is you boil them. You boil the juices out, drain the juices from the meat, and then you can make wine or jams. I've made some jams out of these, which was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. But yeah, Pindo date palm grows here in Florida quite nicely. Back underneath the American sycamore tree, we have our back pollinator bed, and I enjoy having anything that flowers here. Now, this is not something that I've seen until this year, as much as I've seen it. We had a lot of Biden's alba in here, and that was very nice for the pollinators. We do have a bird feeder right up here, and I have a feeling that this is some seed from the bird feeder. In fact, we'll see the sorghum here in just a minute, but that I'm pretty sure came from the bird feeder. But these things are probably seeds from the bird feeder, and I'm going to have to be pulling them out because the flowers, which are not much, there's not much to these flowers. I haven't seen pollinators on it like I've seen on the Biden's alba, so I'm not as pleased with these, and so I will probably work on keeping these down some more. The Thai plants, the purple things in the back, those are from cuttings from a friend a couple years ago. They are thicker than ever this year. They do completely die back to the ground once in the winter, but we can see there's 4 of them. There's actually a 5th one down here, and if you saw, it's the one that I mowed over. And, ooh, it is buried underneath whatever this is. It's going to be right about in here. And I am going to see if we can rescue it real quick. Even though I said we don't have weeds, I have opted that these are no longer wanted in here. Oh, there it is, right there. Look. There it is. Yes, it is trying to come up. And it's going to do it. I actually accidentally mowed it. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, where'd my 5th plant go? I think that was actually on the garden tour, wasn't it? I can't remember. But yeah, so there's that Thai plant, that 5th one that I hope survives. A lot of zinnias in here. Next year I'm going to focus more on the giant zinnias that we've got in the raised beds in the back. These are nice. They're regular zinnias and they look beautiful, but I like the giant ones better. So that's the back pollinator bed with all kinds of stuff. The long leaves back there, those are Amaryllis that are going to be coming back out in the spring and look beautiful. The front pollinator bed out here is looking mighty fine. I do occasionally walk out here and I'll pull some plants out, which is why there's a blank patch in the middle of it here. This is the Brugmansia, Sanguinea Brugmansia, the red one, and the other Brugmansia, the yellow one. They still have not flowered, which I think they were starting to flower this time last year, but I cannot remember. That was the angel trumpet flower. We have a bunch of milkweed here that we still haven't planted out. Yes, I know. Come on, Bowtie. How lazy can you be? Yeah, you got some other gardeners out there saying they're lazy. Anne of all trades has nothing on my laziness. I don't know how she does all she does anyway. Anyway, a couple of yarrow in here that are coming to the end of their season. Of course, they're underneath this sycamore tree, so they don't get as much sun. So they start to fail a little earlier, which is okay. It's okay. They will come back next year. In fact, let me bring you in close to this one right here. You can see this yarrow has got new growth coming in down here. And really, I can come in here and I can cut all these dead things out and free up space, and all this new growth will grow out again a lot faster. So, yeah, this is a neat plant. This is the third year it's been here. You know what? It might be the second year. No, it's the third year. It's the third year. Underneath over here, we have our Egyptian walking onions. I tell this story every month. These things grow. They grow up. They have a bulbule at the top. The bulbule falls over, touches the ground, and grows a new plant. So right now there's 13 plants along this edge and a few in the middle. Started off as 11 plants just along this edge last year. I was talking about the sorghum, and I think it was during last month's garden tour I discovered this. I've been asking around from neighbors, and they're like, oh, I've never seen that before. And then my neighbor behind the white fence over here, he's like, well, that's sorghum. It's like, where do they come from? He says, oh, your bird feed. I'm like, well, duh. So yes, sorghum, and I've looked at the package on the bird seed, and sure enough, it lists sorghum seed as part of the thing. This here is popcorn tree, which I do not want in my garden. I really don't want the sorghum, so I guess that makes it a weed. These little trees growing everywhere, these little ivies. You know, I said I don't have weeds. It's just a state of mind. I'll mow over that and it'll go away. So we haven't seen many of these suckers come off of the American sycamore tree. I just noticed that we've got 2 suckers coming off here. When they're small like this, they're easy to pop off. I don't want a branch growing out into the middle of my garden that low. That's all there is to it. It's been doing pretty good. When we got here, this big burl right here was covered in them. And I've been keeping it clean. And actually, I don't think I touched it this year at all. I think it's decided not to grow anything from there. Okay, so I just turned around and looked at the mess that's in here. Before I started the camera, I thought, do I need to go get the mower right now? I have to pull the car out, get the mower out, put the bag on it. That already sounds like way too much work for me for today. This is, of course, the top 2 tiers of what eventually will be a five tiers of growing space. And we have the very first thing here is a German pink tomato. And I'm very excited to say that for the very first time, well, I just saw, okay, there's buds on, oh, let me go to the other side here real quick. There's actually buds on this tomato plant, this German pink. I'm very excited about that because it hadn't had a single bud this year. And so there's little flowers, there's new ones coming out at the growing tips, And so we are going to get some tomatoes from this thing, hopefully. Now, I do have this shade cloth over it. We are coming up into September, which by the 19th, I will have these shade cloth down. So these will start getting more sun. The rest of this bed, now last year we planted garlic here. We are not planting garlic because we have enough for a couple of years. So we're not planting garlic. So nothing ever got planted in this side over here, except for a bunch of beautiful flowers. And down to this end over here, we planted a lot of these Thai yard-long beans. And these have actually done really good. You can see there's the seeds in there starting to dry. But we didn't find these to be, we didn't like how between the beans, it just didn't seem to have a lot of meat. And so probably won't be growing these again as much as I did here. I might grow a few just to have some in the garden. But yeah, the Thai yard-long beans, that I just didn't really like them. I do want to point out over there we have one Dino Kale, which I do like. I will walk by here quite frequently and just simply pick a leaf off, check the bottom for anything big, nothing big, and eat it because it's good. It's still good. It is underneath the shade cloth, and the shade cloth has to come down by the end of September. So I wanted to keep it up for the summer. We're done. So let's talk about one of my biggest failures this year. That is the grape arbor. And after I did the July garden tour, in fact, if you go back and look, you'll see we had a lot of grapes inside this thing. And I did the garden tour, I got busy. And by the August garden tour, when I went in here, I realized I completely forgot to harvest all those ripe grapes, and they were gone. They were absolutely gone. So that's a lesson learned for me, not to leave those grapes. You can see there's still some shrivelly ones right there, but they're not any good anymore. They're dry. But I was dreaming that I had maybe 10 pounds of grapes in here. They were tasty, and I just didn't get them. My ADD brain cut it off, and I didn't get them. So, yeah, when the grapes are ready, they need to be harvested. And of course, out the back, we're looking at the blueberries. I love these things. Oh, let's look at the side yard here. I started doing some cleaning up. In fact, you can now see the stump right there and the grow bags that I need to get gathered up. But yeah, so there's at least it's somewhat cleared out. I did that last month for the garden tour. Well, at the garden, not really for the garden tour, but at the garden tour. And it's nice to be able to see at least the grow bags I need to move, which were smothered with ivy. There's other stuff smothered under this grass right here that needs to be tended to. We do have, what is this? This is something new. Oh, what is that? I'm gonna have to identify that. Is that that invasive vine that everybody hates having? I believe it might be. I can't think of the name of it right now. My ADD brain is not letting me come up with it. But I did pull a massive amount of it off the blueberries back here. So the blueberries are breathing again, but I can tell they have more already growing up here. It came back with a vengeance, of course. So I have to keep, this is the battle right here is the ivy off of these. When we first moved here, I cleared a bunch of ivy off the top of this, and it's just something that needs to be done on a regular basis. But the blueberries are looking good. I can see there's a bunch, oh my goodness. A bunch of it growing back there. I didn't see that last time. I need to get back in there and clean that up. So the blueberries are looking fine though. Of course, they don't have any blueberries on them because it's not in season. In fact, their leaves are starting to get a little bit of the rust on them that's going to make them drop all their leaves. This is the cycle of their life. Their new growth will start coming in the spring, and they will grow anew and give us another 30 pounds of blueberries. I'm still loving this Lantana. This is the first time it has appeared, and I'm being very careful not to disturb this plant. Hopefully it will be something that, that will stick around. It's beautiful. I'm presuming this is the berry the flowers produce, maybe, where the seeds will come from. And we'll have to see if we can grow some of these on purpose in a place that we want them to grow. But that is just so beautiful. Pink and yellow, that is neat. My needs are simple, right? So here right up next to the house is another succulent that I have been growing here since we moved in. This is Devil's Backbone. There's a few names for it. And it is actually growing here all on its own. I put it in here, it's one of those leave it and forget it kind of plants for me. Yeah, I know, that's everything. Fascinating plant because what it does, in fact, let me see if I can zoom in here. Not get too close, but every one of these little nodules right here will grow a little leaf. And that leaf will start having a root, and then they fall off the plant and grow new ones. Every one of those little nodules along that leaf. And so it just kind of reseeds itself over and over and over. Every little nodule there. In fact, you can see those coming out a little more prominently. It makes this little tiny leaf, and then it fall on the ground, grow a new plant. So it reseeds itself quite prolifically, to say the least. But I've got it kind of tucked in here in a corner where hopefully it'll do its own little thing. It does these wonderful big seed heads that are about 3 foot tall, and I haven't seen that yet. We may end up having to take some of these and plant them in a sunnier spot to where it gets better weather. So I did identify, or tried to identify that vine, and my PlantNet app says it's either a sweet potato or a morning glory or a bindweed, something like that. So I hesitate to call this a failure, but this is, I was going to build 2 more beds to this raised garden bed, and I have reversed. This is where I had that big tarp out here. I have reversed my plans. I'm going to go ahead and let this thing grow over in grass. I got a few more bricks up in there I need to remove, but this is going to be placed on hold, and I'm going to let this return to grass. And you can already see right here in the lower left, the grass is already creeping in all over the place. So it'll get back in there. Even right over there, there's grass growing into it. It'll become grass real quickly, and I'll try again. So this is kind of a reversal. I wanted to get this bed done this year. It did not happen. A lot of that has to do with how busy my year has been, and I just hadn't had the time to get out here. We did, you can see there, we got some decent rain here over the past couple days, which has been extremely nice. But yes, going back to lawn here, let's see how this happens. Be sure to subscribe, see the next garden tour, and get an idea how long this is going to take. I bet it won't be till November that this thing is back to a regular yard. I had greater plans for this, asparagus bed, and I still have plans for this to be an asparagus bed, but still has only 1 asparagus plant in it. And we had a few sprouts off of it, which was nice, but that's it. I do have my 2 basil plants in here, which I had last year, and oh my goodness, looky there. There is a surviving strawberry plant in here. Looky there, hot dog. Yeah, let's give that thing a little bit of space. I do have strawberry plants in different places, so I'm not in danger of like totally losing it, but I do try to keep the grass and the leaf flower away from it, and of course the American sycamore leaves. But I would like for this thing to have a chance to send out runners to start some new plants. So anything that I can get to survive, we'll have to look in the raised beds to see if any of those survived. But that's about the extent. I would like for all of this to be asparagus one day. There is some amaryllis right back there in the corner, those big long blade leaves that actually look real good. I've mowed this, I've tarped it. Yet another plan. So the thing that confuses me about the sweet potato thing is I've never planted sweet potatoes in our garden. Neither Mrs. Bowtie or I enjoy sweet potatoes, which I know. We live in the South, we're heathens. I know it, I'll admit. But neither of us really like sweet potatoes, and so I've never planted sweet potatoes. I don't know where, if it was sweet potato. The morning glory was what I was thinking of. I know they can be very invasive, and they've got the beautiful flowers and all, but they can be invasive, and that is obviously an invasive one. There's more growing around over here. It's all over the place. The more, whatever it is, sweet potato, morning glory, whatever. So, you know, back to my ADHD garden. All of us know someone who just has dreams a lot larger than they can probably ever accomplish. I've always been that way, and over the decades I've learned to temper that some, but I do still firmly believe that if you shoot for the moon, you'll still land among the stars, and what we do get, we're going to enjoy. And I know we've maybe lost 10 pounds of grapes. We've lost 40 pounds of pomegranate just simply because we didn't really need pomegranate this year, but I enjoy having the trees, and the birds enjoy them, and the critters and squirrels. So there's plenty out here that can take enjoyment from those pomegranates. But anyway, that's about the tour. However, there is one thing I want to mention. We are going to have some hinky production over the next month and a half, and we will everything will be revealed come about the first or second week of November, and you'll notice there are some things. Can anybody tell what's missing? I'm not going to say any more. I'm not going to tease any more of that, but Mrs. Bowtie and I are very excited for the plans that are coming up, and the things that are going to be happening over the next couple months. But the garden, as rough as it looks, I love it. I still enjoy walking out here. I still enjoy seeing what's green and lush. I mean, these blueberry plants, they're past their prime, but I just think it's beautiful up in there. I'll walk up in the middle of them and still see just wildlife and things growing. In fact, there's a tree growing up right here in the middle of them that I've got to get taken care of. But yeah, so I enjoy this. It's fun for me. I know it's not for Mrs. Bowtie. Ooh, there's a little blue flower right there. That's cute. I don't know what that is. Squirrel. Anyway, please subscribe to Bowtie Life so you don't miss what's coming up in the outer garden bed tour. We had that monster that's there. It is beyond a monster. It is a life force of its own, and I just can't wait to show what it's done and where it goes. We're just kind of following it along. My backyard neighbor is letting his side grow. He may mow it before it gets too much further, but I hope he's enjoying it as much as I am. Yeah, and then of course you can see right there, just past the fountain, is the hot pepper bed where we got hot peppers growing. But yeah, thanks for watching. I do appreciate all those of you who have subscribed. All those of you who are now watching are the people that watch the videos all the way through, and it really helps grow Bowtie Life what it is today. Those of you who have subscribed, you are my heroes, and I do appreciate it. Y'all have a blessed day.